This is my 1.3 cardiovascular system assignment. So to begin with, we'll be looking at the functions of the CV system and how this applies to a daily and sporting context. So the transportation of oxygen and the removal of carbon dioxide is the first function. This happens basically by oxygenated blood from the lungs travelling to the heart. The heart then ejects this through the arteries, the aorta, and to the capillary bed and the capillaries. At the capillary bed, the blood will diffuse, the oxygen will go through to the muscles where it's absorbed and used for respiration, and this will provide the muscle with energy. The blood then takes away the carbon dioxide, the waste product, from the muscles and transports this back to the lungs to become oxygenated again. The next function is the transportation of nutrients and the removal of wastes. This happens in the stomach, where when you're digesting, the bloodstream will come along. It will absorb any sugars, fats, vitamins, or amino acids in the bloodstream, and will carry this to where most helpful place where it needs to be. In addition to this, the waste products, the metabolic waste products, and toxins and carbon dioxide are transported away to the liver and the kidneys and the lungs, where the body will be able to eliminate these from the body. And the next function is the fighting of disease or infection. This is done by cells basically sending chemical alarm signals that travel throughout the bloodstream. The body will then react to this and send infection-fighting cells or white blood cells to the site of infection or disease. The blood will then, the white blood cells will then attach to the heart, to the tissue affected by the infection of the disease, and will help repair it. When regulating the last final function is regulating the body temperature, otherwise known as thermoregulation. This is done by the vasoconstriction and vasodilation of the atrials. Vasoconstriction basically reduces blood flow and stops and increases blood pressure, and it stops a large amount of the blood flowing towards the skin. So this allows the body to maintain body temperature by keeping the blood within and not at the surface of the skin. So vasodilation, is the opposite to this. An example of this would be sort of when you've just finished a race, and this allows for a greater a greater flow of blood. It doesn't restrict blood flow. There's less blood pressure and more blood is flowing to the skin. So when you finish the race, you have that reddy colour. This is blood coming towards the skin, surface of the skin, in order to try and cool the body down. The next slide is looking at the two different circulations. The systemic circuit, which delivers saturated blood to the muscles and the rest of the body. It does this from the heart through to the aorta, the smaller systemic arteries, the arterioles, and then when it gets to the capillaries and the capillary bed, oxygen is delivered, and then on the way back, it then takes the deoxygenated blood from the muscle and begins to travel back through the venules, through the smaller veins, and to the major systemic veins, finally until it reaches the vena cava. The other type of circulation is the pulmonary circuit, which delivers deoxygenated blood to the lungs. This is then this through the pulmonary arteries as well. The deoxygenated blood reaches the lungs, becomes oxygenated, and is then sent back to the heart. Now, looking at the heart anatomy, this is basically the different structural factors which help the heart do the required job. To begin with, we look at the heart wall, which is made out of three different layers. The first one is the endocardium. The endocardium is a smooth, elastic surface which helps for blood collection and pumping. The endocardium also regulates metabolic waste removal from the heart tissue and acts as a barrier between the blood and the heart muscle. The heart muscle is this thick layer of myocardium. Right, the next layer is the pericardium, which is a fibrous layer. It's a dense connective tissue which anchors the heart. It prevents the heart from overfilling with blood, and also protects the heart from any nearby infections. And then the final layer is the epicardium, which the epicardium is is a thin layer of elastic connective tissue, which AMFAT, which serves as an additional layer of protection from trauma or friction for the heart under the pericardium. This layer contains coronary blood vessels which oxygenate the tissue of the tissue of the heart with their blood supply, which of course come from the coronary arteries. When looking inside the heart, we see these quaternary tendinaries, which are thread-like bands of fibrous tissue which attach one end of the tricuspid and bicuspid valve, which are attached to one end of the tricuspid and bicuspid valve, and also they're attached to the papillary muscles. And basically these act as anchors for the valves in order to open and close them. There are also two other types of valve, which are the pulmonary and aortic, which basically open up under the contraction of the heart and allow the blood to move and be taken to the lungs and the other parts of the body. These also shut in order to stop backflow. The next slide looks at the conduction system and the controlling of the cardiac cycle of the heart. So to begin with, the left and right atrium will fill with blood. There's no contraction at this point, so this is just atrial distal. The next section of the heart is that the next section of the cardiac cycle is that the pressure of the blood in the atrials increases. This causes the aortic valves, the bicuspid and tricuspid valve, to be forced open. Blood then moves into the ventricles, passively filling the ventricles. However, only about 70% of the blood actually goes through passively. And this is called, this section of the cardiac cycle is called ventricular distal. And the time period of ventricular distal is about 0.5 seconds, with the whole cardiac cycle happening in about 0.8 seconds. So yeah, once the ventricles have filled with 70% of the blood, the SA node, which is the heart's pacemaker as such, will send an electrical impulse to the AV node. This will then cause a contraction from top to bottom. This contraction is known as atrial systole, and this basically is the contracting of the atrium, and this will push the other 30% of the blood through the tricuspid and bicuspid valve. Once the ventricles are completely full, the SA node will, the pulse from the SA node will then send a pulse, an electrical impulse that will go through the AV node, through the bundle of his, through the bundle of the bundle branches, and will split and go to the Purkinje fibres. Once here, a bottom to top contraction will happen, and the pressure will force the pulmonary and aortic valves open. The blood will then be pushed through these, and in order to stop the blood coming back, because with gravity the blood will want to fall back in, these valves then shut in order to stop backflow. So then the blood through the aortic valve will leave and will be oxygenated and will go to the muscles and the rest of the body in order to supply the oxygenated energy for these muscles to work. And the pulmonary vein will take the deoxygenated blood to the lungs in order to make this blood oxygenized. However, an important point is the left ventricle has considerably more muscle, as the power, the strength of contraction has to be far greater in order to push because the blood in the oxygenated blood has to cover a greater distance. The lungs are situated right next to the heart, so the right ventricle in that case does not have to be as strong. Right, the next slide is looking at the atomic neutral influences, otherwise known as the ANS influences on the cardiac cycle. So this is basically done through two different systems: the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So obviously at different times the heart's required to pump at different paces, and in order to cope with demand, if muscles have low oxygen, if carbon dioxide is released, and the blood needs to get rid of this. So this sympathetic nervous system, the cardiac control system is a part of the brain. It's found in the brain, and it's found in the medulla oblongata. So the cardiac control system will send an impulse down the sympathetic nervous system through the accelerator nerve, and this will help speed the heart rate up in order to cope with a higher demand of blood. However, the cardiac control system can also send an impulse down the parasympathetic nervous system in order to, and through the vagus nerve, the ACH vagus nerve, in order to slow the heart rate down. However, there is another thing that could have an effect on the speed of the heart. This is adrenaline. As an impulse is sent down the sympathetic nerve, it goes to the adrenal gland and causes a release of adrenaline. This will, of course, make the heart speed up. Right, the next slide looks at the structure and the function of blood. And as you can see, this is the makeup of blood. The blood is made up of roughly about 50% of this straw, they call it straw-like colour, of plasma. And plasma basically it's 90 to 92% water. And it contains electrodes, it also contains proteins and hormones. And its function is basically to transport blood cells around the body, and make